All right, welcome back to the channel. Canelo Alvarez, the most talented enigma in boxing, man. I got a hard time with Canelo Alvarez, man. I swear I do. I'm over here. I'm hot and super cold with him. Just like this potential fight with Billy Joe Saunders. I'm hot and cold on that. And I think one of the biggest problems for Canelo Alvarez and for boxing right now is what I'm going to refer to as the DAZN effect. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about Canelo Alvarez and this Billy Joe Saunders fight, and also this DAZN effect, man, which is leading to some real trash to go around in the boxing world. And I want to talk about exactly why it's leading to trash. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also I want to say a special thank you to everybody that subscribes to the channel, that joined the channel as a member. We've got different levels of membership. Thank you guys. It got a lot of interest in that. It really kicked off very well. So thank you guys for your support. Also, thank you to everybody that comes by the Patreon and comes to the live streams Monday through Friday and OG Boxing Talk with my co-host on Sunday. So let's get to this. Canelo Alvarez, according to reports, Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders is close to being signed. Okay. And it's on its face, I would say, hey man, that's a named fighter with the belt. I think he's the WBO champion at 168 pounds, because you have, I'm pretty sure he's the the IBF is Caleb Plant. The WBA is Callum Smith. The WBC is David Benavidez. And then the WBO is Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is somebody who used to hold the WBO 160-pound title, that was in position to be an undisputed champion if Gennady Golovkin had fought him at 160 pounds. He's out of the UK. He's a good fighter. The best win of his career, the best two wins of his career are against probably Chris Eubank a few years ago at 160. I think that was at 168 too. Or no, maybe it was 160. I don't know if Billy Joe Saunders was ever at 168 until he moved up. So I'll assume that was 160, and then Eubank moved up to 168 for a little while and then moved back down and fought Korobov in that kind of freak show. But regardless, Billy Joe Saunders was the WBO champion at 160 pounds. Now, here's my problem with this fight. At 168, Billy Joe Saunders, just like Sergey Kovalev at 175 pounds, is without a doubt the weakest link in that division. Without a doubt. Of the 175-pound champions, Kovalev had the biggest name, but he was more than likely the weakest link. When you're looking at, I think at the time of the fight, it was Wojciech. It was Wojciech and Beterbiev, or actually, I think at the time of the fight, it was Beterbiev, because Beterbiev had already beaten Wojciech in a great fight. My goodness gracious. I didn't talk about that as being fight of the year, man, but a guy that might have been come-up fighter for the year for me was Arthur Beterbiev. I didn't realize he was a dog like that. I'd seen him fight a few times, but but he's a killer up there. Beterbiev's a killer up there at 168 pounds. At 175 pounds. And then you have Demetrius Bivol, who's the other champion and who was an undefeated fighter, not quite as dominating a fighter. Hadn't looked quite as dominant as Arthur Beterbiev, but he was a long, technically sound fighter that's fresh, that has not been knocked out 3 times. Sergey Kovalev had been knocked out 3 times and looked like he was on his way out against basically a novice in a talented but yet very inexperienced Anthony Yarde in the fight before he fought Canelo Alvarez. So even though there was this Kovalev name and it was in a bigger weight class, there is a certain amount of you taking the weakest, you're taking the old, how lions are out there hunting And they always say in these National Geographic things that, you know, the ones that they're looking for is they're looking for the gazelle with the limp, right? They're looking for the young and they're looking for the old. Okay. And so if an animal looks like they're limping around or they were just born, that's the one they're wanting. They're not trying to go after the freshest, most prime animal. They're looking for the one that's young or one that's old. If they're forced to get one that's in their prime, they'll run with it. But the plan is to pick off the lowest hanging fruit. And that's what it seemed like Canelo Alvarez did with Sergey Kovalev. Credit to be given for him because he's got the name, but the whole situation just reeked of, hey man, that's the weakest link. That's the easiest way. That's the path of least resistance for me to get this belt. 168 pounds. Now, people were saying before that Canelo Alvarez had won a belt at 168 pounds. He won a belt, but he didn't win a championship against Rocky Fielding because that was the WBA regular belt, and everybody knows that the real champion was Callum Smith at 168 pounds. So he's coming down to 168 pounds, and you have these champions. You have Callum Smith, you have David Benavidez, you have Caleb Plant, and you've got Billy Joe Saunders. And the weakest looking one in their last performance, without a doubt, is Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders looked like he looked overweight. He looked like he was losing he was losing that round. He was losing a lot of rounds to that kid out of Argentina. Then the kid from Argentina he wound up getting knocked out because he got cute. But the dude really wasn't, he's all those guys not all of them, but many fighters from Argentina are hard to fight. So, just every time I see, to Billy Joe Saunders' credit, every time I see somebody's about to fight somebody from Argentina, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is going to be funny because they're not going to fight like how you want them to fight. They're going to be awkward. They're going to be difficult. And they really do have a talent out of Argentina to making good fighters look bad. And they did. In that particular fight, he made Billy Joe Saunders look bad. Billy Joe Saunders got the knockout, but it was far from an impressive situation. He looked fat. He looked flabby. So it looks like now that Canelo Alvarez is moving out 175 because he dropped that 175-pound belt. And because there ain't no champions that are easy money at 175. But at 168, here's Billy Joe Saunders. And if there's anybody that looks like they are, it's Billy Joe Saunders. So, come on, man. But look, let me tell you why I don't blame this completely on Canelo. I'm blaming this on DAZN a little bit here. Not just a little bit, a lot. Because Canelo Alvarez does not have to fight anybody significant. He does not have to give fight fans fights that they're actually calling for and want to see. And if you look at the fights, maybe the exception of the Daniel Jacobs fight, he's not fighting the people that actually somebody would say, man, I want to see Canelo Alvarez fight this guy. Do you recall anybody saying, oh yeah, I really can't wait to see Canelo Alvarez fight Rocky Fielding? Or I can't wait to see him fight Sergey Kovalev. Or even now, I can't wait to see him fight another Billy Joe Saunders. No, the fights that people are asking for Canelo Alvarez involve pretty much two people, Jamal Charlo and Gennady Golovkin. I haven't heard a lot for Demetrius Andrade, but God dog, man, when he had all three belts, he could have fought Demetrius Andrade to unify them all at 160. But why isn't he doing it? Because he's getting that guaranteed money from DAZN. So the people that are actually paying the money and putting the money out aren't, they're not the fans. It's not a pay-per-view situation. In a pay-per-view system, the way that Canelo Alvarez fought Gennady Golovkin for the first and the second fight and how he fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., look, man, he had to fight somebody for those pay-per-views to do well. He had to. Now, Julio Cesar Chavez at the time, I knew he was going to get beat up by Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., but he fits one of the characteristics of somebody that Canelo Alvarez said he ain't fighting anymore, which is Mexican. And Julio Cesar Chavez had a good big name. He used to be a champion. I wasn't the biggest on the fight, but there was definitely legitimate interest in that fight. I was actually really shocked that there was that much interest because Canelo Alvarez brought one side of the Mexican fan base out, and Julio Cesar Chavez brought out a different one. So the combination of it wound up being a really big fight, but there was some actual real desire or real demand on the part of fans for those fights. There's no fan demand for Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders or Sergey Kovalev or Rocky Fielding. And if Canelo Alvarez actually had to go out and earn $1 million, the amount of money, well, I'm not going to say he's not going to earn it because he's fighting it. You know, it is what it is. He's getting paid it. They think he's worth it. So, hey, call it. He earned it. But what I mean is, if it wasn't for somebody who was just going to pay him the money, similar to the fact that if somebody didn't just come off of a bunch of money to pay for Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz over there in Saudi Arabia, that fight wouldn't have been there. They would have been forced to give people at least a match that they would be somewhat interested in. And that's the DAZN effect with Canelo Alvarez. He's just not fighting anybody that it's just like I mean, I don't want to go so far as to say that Billy Joe Saunders is a cherry pick, but that's the lowest hanging fruit at 168 and a fight that I don't care about. If he was going to fight David Benavidez, I'd be through the roof. Oh, what? Canelo David Benavidez? Or shoot, even like Canelo Jamal Charlo. Man, those fights would be something that would really excite me, man. This is just another way for Canelo Alvarez to, I believe, to get himself through this contract where he's making all this money from DAZN and just not really give us fights that are very interesting or entertaining. You know, anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section about it. And with that, I'm out. Peace.